There are only two types of smoke detectors, and understanding them changes everything. Welcome back to the Fire Alarm Insider. Today we're going to dive into the common devices in the whole game, and that's smoke detectors. Because if you don't understand how they work, you'll never fully understand why they false, why you have nuisance trips, what the best placements are, or why one detector trigger faster than another and the other one takes its time. The science isn't hard, it's just rarely explained clearly. So let me simplify it. So there are two different types of smoke detectors. We have ionization and we have photoelectric. And ionization is best for fast flaming fires. You may not see ionization smokes installed out there, but you may, if there's still older systems out there, there may still be ionization installed on the system, and you still will have to learn how they actually operate. And they have photoelectric system. This is best for slow and smoldering type fires. Right before the fire actually ignite, this is in the smoldering stage where the smoke is actually heavy and is actually thick and filling up the room. So here's the simple way that I remember it. Ionization, fast flames. Photoelectric, smoldering smoke. So ions is for flames that flare up fast, and you have the photo, which sends out a light and has to be blocked in order for that device to go into alarm. So they both detect smoke, but in very different kinds of ways. So picture this. Inside of a photoelectric smoke detector is a small light beam and a sensor. Normally the light beam doesn't hit the sensor, but when the smoke enters the chamber, the light scatters, then it hits the sensors. The sensors say, hey, there's something here, and the detector activates it. Then send that signal over the wires to the CPU to let it know that there's an alarm condition in this particular area. So a simple way to imagine this is you have a light beam that's looking for smoke, and once that path is interrupted, the system or that device will go into alarm. That's why photoelectric detectors are great for smoky and slow burning fires. Now, when it comes to an ion smoke, it works very differently. Inside that chamber is a tiny electrical current. It's stable when the air is clean, but when combustion particles enter, they disrupt that electrical balance. The detector senses this disruption and it triggers the alarm or sends that signal over the wires to the CPU to say, hey, I'm in alarm. So particles from fire will mess up the current as the detector reacts. This is why ion devices respond quickly to fast-moving fires, and it's also obsolete because you have to wait till it's actually a fire before this type of device will go into alarm. Now, when it comes to placement, a smoke detector can be the right type and still be in the wrong spot. So here's what placement is really about. Now, some smoke behaviors. Inside of a kitchen, you don't want to install a smoke detector inside of a kitchen. Inside of a kitchen, you're going to be building up a lot of smoke from cooking. Nor you don't want to have it near the bathroom because steam showers. Once you open that door, a burst of steam is going to be shooting out into that smoke detector. So you want to have heat detectors in those particular areas so that way you don't create false alarms or nuisance alarms, because if too much of that steam gets into the chamber, then there's going to be moisture inside that chamber. Now you could potentially have a ground fault. Now you could potentially put this device into maintenance alert to where it doesn't even want to work no more, or just keep falsing and you would just have to replace that device. You want to keep it away from mechanical devices or mechanical diffusers or AC vents. You keep it away from dust, airflow, anything that could constantly blow air into it. Usually the code rule is 3 feet, because if you have it 3 feet away from an air diffuser or something that's blowing air out constantly, you don't want dust to just be blowing into that smoke detector, getting it dirty. So we don't never install these devices because the drawing tell us to put it there. We understand why we put in these devices in the places that we're putting it in, because we know that a smoke has to be in a certain area of the room in order for it to properly detect smoke if ever it fills up within that room. So in today's times, in today's world, you will definitely see photoelectric devices. They actually activate in the smoldering stage when it's actually smoke before the fire. So they build up long before the flame shows up. So the more confident you are with understanding how these fire alarm devices work, the more confident you will be in protecting the people and the lives, the buildings that you actually installing these systems in. Because when you understand how smokes work, you stop seeing them as those little white circles on the ceiling. You start seeing them as science, strategy, and a survival mechanism to alert the authorities if ever there's a smoke condition. So if you enjoyed this episode of how smoke detectors actually work, you have any questions, you can chop it up with me in the comments, wherever you digesting this information at, Apple, YouTube, or Spotify. I appreciate that. You can share this with someone you think is helpful, so always speak knowledge and speak it with confidence. So the fire alarm expert, I am out. And remember, the two detector types have two behaviors with one mission, and that's just to protect your life. So I'll catch you tomorrow. Fire alarm expert out. Peace.